Hey Jews, we continue to look at our reality and to ask ourselves, what is the purpose of life as a Jew? What does it mean to be a Jew? And what is the nation of Israel? And why is the nation of Israel different than all of the other 70 nations? What is the information in the Torah? And what does this have to do with our conscious level, going from mineral, plant, animal, speaker, Israel? And I've gone through this in different videos, so leading up to this one, so it's helpful, I think, to go back and learn about the different levels of consciousness. I've broken down also the Medaber Chai and the Chai Medaber and Israel, what it means to obtain this level of consciousness, and the fact that this is a spiritual pursuit but also an intellectual conscious pursuit, where we know in our conscious minds, okay, in the present moment, we are aware, and we have an awareness and a knowledge and an understanding of God and what it means to be Israel, what it means that our forefathers were Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and that Yaakov got the designation Yisrael, Yashar El, righteous, and what it means to walk in the path of the righteous. So we're building on that, and we're going to talk about basically a little bit more about being using this level of consciousness as a speaker. This that we said is connected to Bina, which is understanding. Okay, so we have to understand what we're doing, why we are doing it, which is usually the spiritual information, and when we should do these things. Okay, all things, and that there is something that is very interesting, that is, when we do things, there's different levels, let's say in Judaism, which is asul, we should not do those things, not allowed, mutar, allowed, and tzivui, commanded. Okay, and all of these things we have to know. Okay, so we have to know what is forbidden for us as Jews. Okay, we have to know what is allowed, mutar, for us as Jews, and we have to know what we are commanded. Okay, and then we have to consciously understand, okay, that what we are doing, is that allowed or not allowed? Is that, and why? It's helpful to know why. Okay, but even still, even if you were just to do it because you were allowed to do it or not allowed to do it, and then commanded, which is a different level. Israel is commanded. Israel got the mitzvot, the 613 mitzvot of what to do and what not to do. Okay, and that is the main difference between Israel, the nation of Israel, and all of the other 70 nations, which we go through who they are, how they came about, what's happening in our reality, which is 5-dimensional. 3 are physical, 1 is spiritual, and 1 is time. And we're here, 5,785, basically the end of time, which is why we see all these things in our reality that are making you feel more and more Jewish. Okay, so it's helpful to understand what it means to be Jewish, what is the information, have some knowledge of that information that was handed down in an unbroken chain, and then base your understanding of reality and everything that's happening off of that information, because it's based on wisdom, chokhmah, the wisdom of God. Okay, so this is the main thing, the covenant. The covenant is these laws that were given to us in the Torah. Okay, that if we follow these laws, we will be righteous, which I also did another video about that everyone in the nation of Israel can and should be righteous. And how do you do that? You evaluate everything that you're doing, thinking, is it aligned with this, with these ideals, with this information? Because this is the covenant for all time, forever, until the end of time, because time will end. Okay, this is the main difference, that the nation of Israel got the commandments and we're told to live by them. And then we as Jews, in every time period of reality, okay, can evaluate how we are living, okay, by these laws. That's how we are supposed to evaluate everything. And so this is also directly related to the level of consciousness that we have obtained, okay, which is something that we have to actively do. Okay, we have to actively consider how we are living. Are we living as a Medaber Chai? We have to know what that means. Or are we Chai Medaber, more like an animal, living out our, just from instinct, just from desires, and understand that there's a difference. So we went through this, like I said, in previous videos, but in Judaism, okay, the human experience is defined by this dynamic tension between the ego, which Rabbi Avigdor Miller has referred to basically as the little personality, and the soul, okay, which is more our authentic selves, our higher self, aligned with divine purpose. This journey is a call to self-improvement, as outlined in the Torah and developed through this unbroken chain of Judaism that we've talked about. So through loyalty to the Torah and conscious spiritual growth, Jews are tasked with becoming their authentic selves, okay? Not overdeveloping your ego, okay? Overdevelopment of the ego also results in different identities, okay? You now have other things on top of your ego that maybe make you feel proud a lot of the time. So this would be, any sort of title. Like I saw today, something about lords and ladies of the UK or whatever, okay? Extra titles like that, titles of honor, whatever. Jew doesn't need that. Jew is a Jew, okay? The less complicated you make that, the better. What kind of Jew? Hasidic Jew. What kind of Hasidic Jew? Chabad, Breslov, whatever, all the different types. So all the different types. Extra things that we don't need as Jews, okay? So not developing the ego in that way or in any other way. Also secular Jews, like, social media egos or presence or personalities, okay? And not following just your base desires. This is more understanding the purpose of your life and living according to that to develop your soul, your authentic self, okay? And part of that is becoming righteous because you have to do it in the right way, not just thinking that you're a good person based off whatever sort of information or knowledge you have, but based off the wisdom. So the Torah introduces humanity's dual nature, balancing base desires and spiritual aspirations in Bereshit, where God, Hashem, warns Cain, sin crouches at the door. Its desire is towards you, but you can rule over it. So, I mean, often I think when we're thinking about like a little devil that sits on when we're thinking about the Yetzer Hara or the Yetzer Tov, these inclinations in the hearts and minds of man, in our dual nature, okay? The ego is like the little devil that's sitting on your shoulder, telling you, go ahead and eat that bacon or whatever. It's good. You can, worry about it later. Or don't worry about it at all. Or an angel. And this is like a very simplistic, elementary, something that children think of, okay? But we have to grow in our consciousness and in our understanding and be in mochen de gadlut, which is spiritual expansion. So we have to rethink all of these things as adults and understand that this is either developing ourselves more like an animal, controlled by our desires, okay? And this is the nature. This is the nature of the body, which is part of our reality. It's the physical part. But we have another nature, the soul, which is more the spiritual part, okay? And we need to understand that in our reality, because it's more physical, more material, that we're being pulled down to this level, okay? So, but we can rule over this. This is the whole concept also that we talked about when we talked about the difference between Melech and Kelev. Melech using the mind first, okay, thinking things through, evaluating everything that we're thinking and holding it against this wisdom. Is this something that a pure-minded person would do? Okay, a righteous person would do, yes or no. Okay, and using your head first, not your heart first, like a dog would do, like an animal would do. It feels good. It feels right. This is the right thing to do. It's good to do mitzvot. It's good to do mitzvot. Okay? But you don't have to necessarily stop doing the bad things. Okay? That's like a kelev. That's not thinking properly. First, we're told stop doing bad things. Okay? And then do good things, because we understand the implications of the things that we are doing. I'm going to give one example. But when Chabad goes out and puts tefillin on everybody, in every situation, in any environment, okay, that's doing a mitzvah. But it's not fueling the holy side of things. It's with no understanding. It's like a kelev, which was one of the whole arguments against Chassidut in the very beginning, and why there was over 100 years of mitnagdim, people who were opposed to this, because it's not the way of the righteous. Otherwise, it would be given to us by Moshe Rabbeinu, Chassidut. And like all Chassidut movements, okay, that are dynasties, the son takes over, or whatever. The two sons fight between themselves, who's going to take over the dynasty. That's not what happened here with Moshe Rabbeinu, where his sons did not continue on, but rather his best student, Yehoshua, took over. Okay, so what I'm saying is that we have to continuously learn and evaluate and make sure that we're understanding, because we have to know that in our reality the tendency is to be pulled downwards. Okay, because it's more real. The materialistic physical world is more real for us. So we have to rule over that with our minds, with our intellects, using the knowledge and the wisdom to understand and to become a melech, okay, a king. So this tension illustrates the ego's pull towards the selfishness, okay, to being selfishness, and the soul's potential to rise above it. The ego is rooted in the physical self, paralleling the animalistic Chai Medaber, and the soul reflects the divine image, Tselem Elokim, embodying the higher self that aspires to holiness. So we were also speaking before in previous videos that the mother and father give the genetic material to make the body, okay, of a new speaker. When you have a baby, it's a new speaker that comes into reality. And the parents give the body material, and God puts the soul, okay, the authentic self. And by the way, your soul has a name. Okay, when you're born, when a baby is born, God, who gives a soul, that soul has a name, and it's a Hebrew name. It's your Hebrew name. And I know a lot of Jews that are not Torah observant Jews, okay? They know they have a Hebrew name, but you're never going to hear that Hebrew name. But that's the name of your soul. And your soul you need to wake up your soul, basically, by also knowing and identifying with this name. You have to identify with your soul. Okay, that's part of the speaker and Medaber Chai, knowing that we are here to do something as Jews, that the nation of Israel has a mission, okay, and that we know what that mission is, and this mission has been the mission of the nation for all time, until the end of time, okay, which is, we're in the period of the end of time, because at the end of time, the nation gets redeemed. So your Hebrew name is essential for you to be awakened to the calling of your soul, to the authentic self. So I'm going to give an example. So let's just say your name, your not Hebrew name, is Steve. Let's just say, okay, all day long, Steve, okay, is going along, doing things in the material, physical world, okay, with his ego, eating when and what he wants, doing what he wants. Not thinking if it's allowed or not allowed, if it's commanded or not commanded, okay? But more just like an animal, hungry, eat, mad, yell, say whatever, okay? Use words that are, not, your soul would not be using those words, let's just put it that way. But Steve also has a Hebrew name, and Steve's Hebrew name, let's just say for the sake of argument, is Shimon. Whatever. So if you never hear Steve could be walking down the street and someone could yell Shimon, and he wouldn't even respond, because you don't identify with your soul. You don't identify with your with your authentic self if you're not connected, if you're not conscious of that. That's something you have to put into your own consciousness. And you do that by having daily interaction with Torah, because you're commanded to learn Torah. That's what's going to stabilize your consciousness in the present tense moment of an awareness of God, and absolutely know what the point of the nation of Israel is and what it means to be a Jew. So your Hebrew name is very important, and you need to hear your Hebrew name. You need to speak other people's Hebrew names, okay? And this was one of the main things also that we're told in Egypt, why the tribe of Levi was not enslaved, because they never forgot, okay, that they were made in the image of God, B'Tselem Elokim. And we're told also, B'Tselem, it's like in the image, B'Tselem Elokim, okay, in the image of God. And if you do the commandments and you act like at least a Medaber Chai and a Yisrael, consciously following the commandments, what you're commanded to do, then you are in the image of God. Okay, a Medaber Chai is in the image of God. But if you don't do any of those things, you are B'Tselem Elokim, in shade. You're shaded from God. No more are you acting like this unique creature that was created as a speaker with a soul and a body. But now you are more just acting completely via your instinct and your animal and your ego. So rabbinic teachings build upon this theme in Pirkei Avot. For one, it states who is mighty, one who conquers their inclination. Strength is found not in the physical power, but in mastering the ego's base desires. Similarly, in Brachot 61b, it explains that the righteous are guided by their good inclination, like a melech, and while the wicked succumb to the ego-driven evil inclination. Okay, the intermediate person represents the struggle to align with the soul's divine calling. We are here either at speaker. Okay, are you going to be a Medaber Chai and a Yisrael, or are you going to be a Chai Medaber? That's the tug of war here. And the Ramchal in the Mesilat Yesharim, which we speak about a lot, the righteous, the path of the righteous. Okay, it emphasizes a process of self-refinement through conscious awareness and loyalty to the Torah's teachings. We have to be loyal. We can't change anything, which was the whole topic of my video called Defending the Tradition. You cannot change Judaism. Okay, there's not now inclusive LGBTQ Shabbat. That's not has nothing to do with this, and definitely not any of this information. That's not understanding the information. Okay, so we have to ascend on a spiritual ladder, moving from controlling one's actions to achieving humility, holiness, and ultimately divine consciousness. This is Yisrael. This is the goal. It's something we have to work on. We have to ask ourselves at all times, am I acting as a Medaber Chai, B'Tselem Elokim? Yeah, or as a Chai Medaber, more like an animal. So the Rambam in Ilchot Tshuva in 5:1 and 2, it explains that the free will enables a person to choose between the lower and the higher self. This ability to transcend the ego defines human greatness. Man alone, by virtue of his consciousness and intellect, is able to elevate himself to emulate his creator. The Midrash further reflects this idea that the wicked are controlled by their hearts, like a kelev, but the righteous control their hearts. That's Midrash Tanchuma 7. The righteous master their emotions and desires, allowing the soul's voice to lead and to cultivate your authentic self. This conquest is not merely over external temptations, but over internal impulses and motivations. The why, the motivation of why you're doing the things you're doing, transforming the ego-driven Chai Medaber to a higher spiritually attuned Medaber Chai and Yisrael. Even if you are doing Shabbat, why are you doing Shabbat? Because you're commanded. There is b'tzivui, commanded, mutar, allowed, and lo mutar, not allowed, asur. The motivations for why you're doing every single thing that you are doing. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? The best, the most aware is because you're commanded, and that's the only reason you're doing anything. That's Israel. That's Israel. Okay? Everything else is either your Medaber Chai or your Chai Medaber. Why? What's your understanding? And where have you taken your information that you have built your understanding of reality on? It better, Jews, it better be from the wisdom, from the Chokhmah of God in the Torah, okay, and explained to us in an unbroken chain throughout time. Loyalty to this unbroken chain is imperative because Judaism is not merely a personal path of spiritual growth. It's also the covenant that we received, and it's the mission that connects each Jew to an unbroken chain of tradition. Okay, the Torah transmitted from Sinai provides the blueprint for living as a nation dedicated to God. In Dvarim 30:19, God tells us, I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Therefore, choose life. That's our choice. Our choice is to evaluate everything that we're doing and making sure that it's because we were commanded to do it, or at least we're allowed to do it, and definitely don't do the things that we're not allowed to do. Okay, so in Sotah 5a, the Talmud warns against arrogance. Arrogance is listening to yourself. Arrogance is making your ego, the king over yourself. Why are you doing what you're doing? Because you want to, or because you don't want to, okay? So what are you doing is praying when you're getting up, is at the crack of dawn, before the crack of dawn even, to pray shacharit. Why are you doing it? Because you were commanded to do it, and you're commanded to do it in the best way possible, which is you're conscious about that. You understand why it's the best to get up the earliest, okay, and not the latest, okay, is because you're commanded and because you understand and you're trying to achieve this level of spirituality, of righteousness, and of consciousness, okay, and not for any other reason. So God says, every person in whom there is haughtiness of spirit, the Holy One blessed, he says, I and he cannot dwell together in the world. Meaning you will be betzel, me Elokim. You will be shaded from God's presence. Because the righteous will receive the face of Hashem. You want God's face on you. You want God to be turned towards you with blessings. Okay? Not turned away from you in shade from God. You don't want to be in God's shade. You want to be in his light. Okay, so that's a choice that you have to make. Because a haughty person, okay, somebody who has a very big ego and a lot of pride, is not in B'Tselem Elokim, is not acting like a Medaber Chai Israel, but rather a Chai Medaber. Okay, so the ego's self-centeredness distances one from God, while humility brings the soul closer to divine purpose. And in Dvarim 7:9, it says, no, da'at. Know therefore that the Lord your God he is God, the faithful God, who keeps a covenant and loving kindness with those who love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations, forever. Okay, because Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov were loyal, and we received as our descendants the Torah. And this is in Mesilat Yesharim, where he talks about loyalty. Why we can't stray from anything here in the Torah, why we can't change anything, not even the times that we get up and pray, or don't get up and pray, or don't pray at all. Okay, we can't change anything. We have to be loyal to the information. One of the most, and this again is the Mesilat Yesharim with Rabbi Avigdor Miller's commentary, which I think is extremely helpful. Loyalty. One of the most necessary and important character traits that Hashem desires is ne'amanut, loyalty. Loyalty means endurance and firmness, to remain steadfast and not to veer from what is right. Regarding this characteristic, this midah, the author writes, the only thing Hashem desires of man is loyalty. In order to show how much Hashem values this characteristic, the author, which is our Ramchal, quotes 4 supporting verses. Okay, so it says that basically the truth is that the foundation of belief in Hashem is loyalty. It is our duty, first and foremost, to be loyal to Hashem and His Torah, and because of that, we achieve truth and steadfastness. This is the meaning of the verse, the tzaddik will live by his loyalty. He will live because of the merit of his loyalty, clinging steadfastly to Hashem. Loyalty is a general midah, characteristic that encompasses all areas of life and is one of the fundamental principles of achieving shlemut, perfection, in our service of Hashem. A loyal person doesn't easily change his ways, but remains steadfast. He stands his ground, like the Gaon Mivelna, okay, that put Chabad in Cherem 3 times, and also the book Tanya, okay, to remain loyal and steadfast to the way that we were supposed to achieve this goal of the nation of Israel, which is redemption, in this way, by achieving consciousness intellectually and through our brains first, and not through our hearts, not with ecstatic prayer, and not with just doing good things in mitzvot, not just by being good people and doing good things in the community. No. By being loyal to this way of doing things, the way that our fathers did, and our fathers before them did, all the way back to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Okay? So, again, that is why that's our choice, and that's our free choice. And God advises us to choose life, to choose not to veer from this path, to just achieve this level. Okay? A loyal person is dependable and trustworthy. And that is, again, the basis for the video that I made called Defending the Tradition. We have to be loyal to this information, okay? Things change all the time. What is good? What is wrong? What is bad? What is acceptable? Cultures, morals, all those things change if you're not dedicated and loyal to things that never change, which is in the Torah. Everything of how we need to live is in and outlined in the Torah, the laws of the Torah. Okay, so now if you want to go and keep different laws, like the international laws of the 70 nations, okay, then later when they come and they say that the state of Israel, who does not have the Torah laws, okay, the state of Israel is a criminal enterprise run by criminals, okay, and that the any war that they're engaged in, even for existence, is criminal. That's the laws of the 70 nations. So you've chosen that. You've chosen that, Jew, or Israel, or Israelis, Zionists. That's the laws that you have chosen. But we're commanded to choose these laws. Just do these laws. Just live by this way, especially in the Holy Land. Okay? And then that's actually justice, because you can see that these laws are not very righteous. Okay? Very biased, actually, against the nation of Israel. How are we supposed to understand that with no wisdom? So Judaism does not merely call for adhering to what is allowed, the mutar, like we said, okay? But it demands a conscious alignment with what is commanded, tzivui. As the Zohar teaches, Israel is distinguished by their ability to act at the right time, in the right way, and fulfilling the divine commandments with intention and precision. We follow the Torah laws because we're loyal to the Torah laws. Could really care less about what the 70 nations in their International Court of Laws in the Hague think. That has nothing to do with me as a Jew, and nothing to do with me as part of the nation of Israel. Whatever they're doing there, they're doing, okay? Because they have their plan, they have their whatever, okay? But God has his plan, and the nation of Israel has their goal and their mission. And it hasn't changed at all, okay? At all, throughout time. So the Jewish journey is a call to rise above the ego and to develop the authentic self. And one of the things that helps is to be aware of your Hebrew name and to use it and to know that that means something. It's the name of your soul. And follow the Torah, follow the path of the righteous through the conscious pursuit of self-refinement, humility, and a loyalty to this tradition and to this information and to these laws. The Jews, you as a Jew, fulfill your divine mission by walking the path of the righteous as outlined in, again, Mesilat Yesharim. Okay, everybody should just be reading this book and trying to be that person, like a pure-minded person of Jerusalem. Everything we do, we need to filter that through our processor of our brains first, not our hearts. Why are we doing what we're doing? Is it because we want to? Is it because we desire to do so? Or is it because we are commanded to do so by God at a certain time, in a certain way? So each Jew, everybody can bring our souls into alignment with God's will, okay, and be B'Tselem Elohim. And this is the purpose and the goal of the nation of Israel. Why are you a Jew? What is the nation of Israel? What is happening in our reality? And how should we understand everything?